Very good day to Miss Noor Shahida. My name is Shan Ru, and my student ID would be TCM 2302065. And in this presentation, I would focus on one of the human rights, right to healthy environment.
I'm Chen Weiyan, student ID TCM 2302064. I will in charge in the discussion of right to freedom of expression and opinion.
Good days to Dr. Noor Shahida. My name is Jia Xin and my student ID is TCM 2302067. Our group is talk about the human rights and compare between the Eastern perspective and Western perspective. And I'm in charge of one of the human rights, which is rights to marry.
Hello everyone, my name is Tong. Student ID is TCM 2302123, and my part was rights to abortion.
Hello everyone, I'm Linjie. My student ID is 2109572, and my part is abortion right.
Introduction of right is a fundamental legal, moral, or ethical entitlement within a society, which is a foundation for equality and dignity. We are going to focus on 4 studies of rights, which are right to healthy environment, freedom of expression and opinion, marriage, and abortion. The objective and research area is between few countries, which is represent Western and Eastern philosophy, national philosophy, cultural, religion, and historical impact.
The first right that we will talk about is the right to healthy environment. Right to healthy environment is the right that ensure that individuals can live with a dignity and well-being in a sustainable setting. This right is recognized by the United Nations in 2021 and 2022. It includes the protection from the pollution, climate change, biodiversity loss, environmental justice, and the legal recognition. It's followed by the Western and Eastern perspective in the environmental right. I will talk about the country is Japan and United States of America. In Japan is enacted the Basic Environmental Law in 1993 and the Basic Environmental Plan in 1994 to guide the environmental policy. The rights to a healthy environment in Japan is influenced by both Buddhism and Confucianism, which emphasize social harmony and moral responsibility. And Japan integrates this value into the environmental protection. For example, for the Buddhism, Japanese aware about karmic retribution. This, if Japanese does not protect the environmental well, environmental will not suitable for them to stay anymore in the future. Next, Japan collaborates internationally, especially within the Asia-Pacific region, to promote environmental sustainability. This is because Japan thinks that global environmental conversation is a shared concern of humanity. For United States of America, the National Environmental Policy Act in 1970 was among the first environmental law. It required foreign agencies to consider environmental impact. USA's follow environmental pragmatism as the national philosophy, which promotes the practical democratic solution over rigid ideology. Some other significant policy includes the Clean Air Act and Clean Water Act, which regulate pollution and protect the natural resources. For example, Clean Air Act is introduced to control the air pollution from the local, stationary, and mobile resources. Next, I will talk about the culture and religion's influence in the both country, Japan and United States of America. First, I will talk about Japan. Japan belief is Shinto, as Shinto believe the view of nature as God, which encouraging the Japanese to promote environmental conservation. And Shinto makes Japanese respect and preserve the environment. Next is the historical event like the atomic bombing. The atomic bomb has attacked the Japan on 6 and 9 August 1945, which caused radiation cannot eradicate for years, which caused healthy problem to the Japanese. Thus, this situation heightened Japan's commitment to pollution control and environmental safety. Next is the United States of America. Many Americans across various regions embrace the environmental stewardship, is seeing it as a divine responsibility. The wilderness philosophy and the environmental ethics stress nature's the intrinsic value influence policy like the Wilderness Act 1964. In conclusion, I will compare both Japan and Japanese in a different approach. Like both Japan and the USA recognize the rights to healthy environment, but both approach differently. For example, like Japan integrates the culture and religious values with government policy, while the USA will emphasize legal framework and democratic decision making. The global cooperation remains essential in addressing environmental challenge. And that's all from me. Next, I will pass to my group mate to continue our presentation.
Now we are going to discuss the right of freedom to expression and opinion. It is listed under Article 19 of Universal Declaration of Human Rights state that everyone has the right to freedom to hold opinions without interference and to seek, receive, and impart information ideas through any media and regardless of frontal. However, there is some limitation under Article 19.3 to protect national securities, public order, public health, or the right and reputation. For this topic, we selected Germany and China to symbolize the Western and Eastern approach to forming the right to free expression, respectively. Eastern philosophy places a higher priority on social harmony, collective responsibility, and state authority to control speech. While Western democratic traditions often roots in liberalism and enlightenment ideas that prioritize the autonomy, open debates, and government accountability. Confucianism emphasized the social stability and national unity through cautious speech. People should express without the disruption to social order. From this aspect, we can determine that the mutual obligation is more essential than individual rights in China's society. Legally, the right to freedom of expression and opinion is guaranteed under Constitution of China. Article 35 states that the freedom of speech in any aspect is restricted by certain specific law and regulation, prohibits the speech and activities endanger the national securities, honor, and interests. Marxism-Leninism applies the concept of guiding public opinions, ensure the speech in media and online discourse align with the state narrative and follow the one-party system. In both aspects of culture and religion, the societies of China perform their respect to the government's organizations. Culturally, the social priors the communist ideology. Government will guide public discourse through state-controlled media and internet regulation. For religion, religious activity should align to state policy. Religious expression and participation of government members in these activities is strictly controlled. Tiananmen Square massacre is one of the famous historical events that shaped China's right to freedom of expression and opinion by strictly suspend the discussion on this event through censorship and controlling the democracy. Red Giant War also introduced after this event to prevent the online discussion. In Germany, the freedom of expression and opinions is deeply influenced by national philosophies of liberal democracy, historical responsibility, and principle of militant democracy. The rights is guaranteed under Article 5 in the Basic Law of Germany. It protects the right of freedom to expression, maintain the liberal democracy in society. However, hate speech are prohibited under Article 5 too. Moreover, Germany designs a militant democracy as proactive system to define democracy from within, preventing measures against anti-democratic force. The Basic Law of Germany guarantees the freedom of expression and opinion in individuals and religions. However, it suppresses the hate speech, Holocaust denial, and violence in both individual and religious activities. Germany, having experienced the suppression of free speech under Nazi's rule that suspending the civil liberties. Hence, the government in Germany now enforce laws against hate speech and Holocaust denial to prevent the rise of extremism after this event. Their commitment is to balance liberty with accountability.
Thank you for the previous presentation. Now I'm going to present the Western and Eastern perspective in merit law. In my part, the Eastern perspective will come from Malaysia and Western perspective will come from US, which is United States. In a general way to explain, rights to merit is refers to the legal and social recognition of a partnership between two individuals, providing rights, obligations, and advantages under the law. From World Health Organization, it states that everyone has the rights to decide whether to marry, whom to marry, and when to marry. In Universal Declarations of Human Rights Article 16, it confirms the rights to marry and family with free and informed consent. From the presentation, this analysis compares Malaysia and the US regarding marriage rights from a legal and cultural perspective. The first question is Western and Eastern philosophy in human rights. In Malaysia, collectivism, social harmony, and religious value shapes Malaysian marriage law. And Malaysia have the dual legal system, which is Sharia law govern Muslim marriage, and civil law applies to non-Muslim. Marriage is a family and community affair, not merely an individual right in Malaysia. In US, liberal and individualistic approach to human rights. Marriage is recognized as a civil right, backed by major legal cases. The first case will be Loving versus Virginia in 1967 and legalized interracial marriage. And second case is Obergefell versus Hodges, 2015, legalized a same-sex marriage. The separation of church and states ensure religion belief do not detect marriage law. The second question is national legal system and marriage right. In Malaysia, have the dual legal system regulate marriage based on religions, and Islamic family law allows the polygamy for Muslim men. In civil law, based on the British common law, require monogamous marriage for a non-Muslim. In US, constitutional principles and rights-based approach shape the marriage law. The 14th Amendment ensure equal protection impacting ruling on same-sex marriage and interracial marriage. And states versus federal authority. The states regulate marriage, but federal law can override discriminatory policy. The third question will be cultural and philosophical impact on marriage rights. In Malaysia, traditional and religious values play a major role, and parental and societal approval is significant. For example, arranged marriage. And Islamic family law grants more powers to men. For instance, divorce by talaq. In US, law prioritizes individual choices over religious or traditional influence. And in the gender equality, for example, both spouses have equal rights in divorce and property matters. And LGBTQ+ means like lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, sometimes it's questioning, and plus it represents the intersex, asexual, and others. This right movement has expanded marriage rights. The fourth question is the role of religions in human rights perspective. In Malaysia, Islam significantly influences Muslim marriage law, and Sharia court handle matters like divorce, child custody, and inheritance. And non-Muslim follow secular marriage law, but religion's costume remain influential. In US, the separation of church and state states that religious ceremony exists but hold no legal authority. And religious debate impact policy, especially regarding same-sex marriage. The fifth question is historical event shaping marriage rights. In Malaysia, the colonial influence such as British law introduced civil marriage regulation. And post-independence in 1957 is strengthening of Islamic family law. In 1976, Law Reform Marriage and Divorce Act standardized non-Muslim marriage. And last one is the child marriage debate. For the civil law is minimum age 18 for marriage and Islamic law as young as 16 with a court approval. For the United States, civil rights movement shaped marriage law. And key legal cases is Loving versus Virginia in 1967, and another cases is Obergefell versus Hodges in 2015. For another one, the feminist movement also influenced the spouses' rights, divorce law, and gender equality in marriage. And now, the US is prioritized individual choices. Last but not least, the conclusion from my presentation will divide into two parts. The first part will be the key comparison and the future trend. The first one, the key comparison between Malaysia and United States is Malaysia is based on religions and collectivism define marriage. And to US, the individual rights and legal equality shapes marriage law. The second question is future trends in Malaysia is state that ongoing debates on child marriage law and marriage equality. And the United States is possible further expansion of marriage rights. And that's all my presentation. Thank you for listening. Next, I will pass to the next human rights, which is rights to abortion.
Right to abortion refers to the legal and ethical entitlement of women's individual to access safe and legal abortion. On Western perspective, we use French, which is rooted in Renaissance and Enlightenment ideals, emphasizing their individual rights. In 1971, the Manifesto of 343 challenged their traditional norms and outdated law, which reinforced their gender inequality. And China have collective interest over individual rights, which is fetus regarded as extension of mother, leading to a more flexible stance on abortion. On national philosophy, France emphasized individual liberty and secularism, which granting women greater autonomy in Vian Law 1975. China have more in religion philosophy influence their reproductive decisions, and state interventions is abortion law based on the national demographic rather than rigid ideology, which currently using third child policy in China. On cultural aspect, France legalized contraception in 1967, which challenged their traditional belief on women's role, and more on secularism and individual rights on abortion. While in China, it's more on the religion factor, which have Confucianism, Taoism, and Buddhism prioritize their family continuity, non-interference, and raise concern about harming ancestral being. While on traditional communities stigmatize the abortion, urban regions support the rights to safely abort. And now I'll pass it to Linjie.
Region's role in human rights perspective. Western perspective, France's view on abortion have been greatly impacted by conservatism, which view life as a sacred from conception. The 1920 law making abortion and contraception illegal reflected the moral authority of the church. In the 1970s, societal secularization and enlightenment principle of autonomy challenged religion's supremacy. Eastern perspective, China, Confucianism value family and social harmony, often prioritizing collective well-being over individual rights, which can lead to accepting abortion to mental stability. Tourism emphasizes balance and harmony, view abortion as a means to preserve equilibrium, especially in hardship cases, promoting a flexible approach to reproductive choice. Buddhism opposes compress and no harm, offer advocating conscience due to fetal suffering cases, but stops abortion when the mother's well-being is at risk, considering the chemical consequences. Historical events shaping human rights. Western perspective. In 1920, laws influenced by Christianity made abortion and contraception illegal in France, during which regime abortion was considered a crime against the state, punishable by death. The 1967 Nervous law legalized contraception, resulting from discussion about women's autonomy. The 1917 marked a turning point with events such as the Manifesto of the 343, the Bobigny Trial, and the passing of valid law that decriminalized abortion under specific conditions. Eastern perspective, China, late Qing dynasty, abortion was strictly prohibited. Republican area comprehensive abortion ban with a 1975 expression for life-threatening cases. 1950 legalized abortion for healthy risk cases. 1971 birth planning campaign made abortion widely available. Intensified with 1979 one-child policy and forced abortions. This is our conclusion. That's all. Thank you.